This is not how Samuel de Champlain had imagined his life would end. Wounded and pursued, wandering lost in the forest. By 1615, Champlain had explored and mapped areas of North America where no European had dared to venture. But now, without a guide or a compass to aid him, he must rely on his senses and his knowledge of the forest to show him the way, or die trying. Champlain first arrived in North America in 1603 at Tadoussac, on the banks of the St. Lawrence River, where the French had established a trading post, their only foothold in this land. We know very little about Champlain before he arrived at Tadoussac. He may have been about 33 years old at the time. He was a cartographer, part of a scouting expedition led by François Pont-Gravé, a veteran of many voyages to the St. Lawrence. Champlain had orders to report to the King of France on what he saw and heard. The king had plans for this land and its people, the Innu, who the French called Montagnais.
We landed on St. Matthew's Point, where the natives had their lodges, accompanied by 2 natives whom we had brought back to their people to report on what they had seen in France and of the good reception the king, Henri the Great, had given them.
Pont-Gravé and Champlain and the 2 young Innus arrived in the midst of a great victory celebration. And Anadabiju, the Innu Sagamo, welcomed them into the Council of Elders.
We give thanks to our Norman friends for bringing our sons back to us. Come, sit beside me and tell us what you have seen in their land.
My brothers, we have seen how the Normans live in fine lodges made from rock and wood. Their king has shown us kindness and sends us to give you a message. His people desire to live in our land and to help us make peace with the Iroquois. And if that is not possible, to send men to help us vanquish them.
Our son has spoken well. Their king wants to be our friend. Do not be deceived by these men with eyes of dogs and hairy faces. Do not let their strange smell and curious habits fool you. They will help us to fight the Iroquois. We are content that your king wants his people to live in our land and make war on our enemies. There is no one in the world we wish more good than the Normans.
With these words and the celebration that followed, Anadabiju sealed an alliance with the King of France, an alliance that would endure for 100 years, allowing both partners to pursue separate goals.
The Indians wanted an ally against the Iroquois. The French wanted amity and concord in the valley of the St. Lawrence, and everybody wanted a flourishing fur trade. The French wanted trading partners. They wanted furs, they wanted the beaver. In the midst of Champlain's career, a revolution occurred in Paris hats. There was a huge appetite for beaver pelts throughout Europe, and that was a great driver in all of these events. At the same time, Champlain wanted something more. He wanted knowledge from the Indians.
Have you not seen or heard your ancestors tell that God had come into the world?
In olden times, there were 5 men who went toward the setting sun and met Tashishi Manitou, the Great Spirit. The Great Spirit asked them, "Where are you going?" The men said, "We are seeking our life." The Great Spirit answered them, "You shall find it here." The warriors continued on, and the Great Spirit took a stone and touched 2 of them, and they turned into stones. The Great Spirit said again to the other 3, "Where are you going?" And they answered again, "We go in search of our life." And the Great Spirit said to them again, "Go no further. You shall find it here." And the men, seeing that nothing happened to them, went on. And the Great Spirit took 2 sticks and touched 2 of the men, and they turned into trees. The 5th man halted and would go no further. And the Great Spirit asked him again, "Where are you going?" The lone man replied, "I am searching for my life." And the Great Spirit said, "Stay, and you shall find it." The man stayed without going any further, and the Great Spirit gave him meat, and he ate it. He returned among his fellow men and told them of his story.
Anna de Bijou's story may have been meant as a gift for Champlain to guide his journey in search of a life in this land.